Take on all of this, Brendan, having watched this unfold over the morning?
It's so interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think it's a bad idea. I think the Tories are a busted flush. I actually don't mind Kemi Badenoch. I think she's done some good stuff. I think she really came into her element in the budget discussion last week. She's got a lot going for her. She's a clever politician. But I just think people are sick and tired of the two main parties, the Tories and Labour, of course. You know, we've had enough of them. They're clapped out organisations. People are looking for something new. Now, millions of working class people are looking to reform. Some middle class idiots are looking to your party and the Greens. You know, good luck to them. But people want something different. So I think it would be a mistake for reform to align with one of those clapped out parties that people have no faith in.
Do you think it's a mistake, though? This is the issue. I just had Jonathan Gullis, who defected. He was defected on Monday. He was the ex-vice chairman of the Tory party. But there is an argument amongst Reform members and voters that says, why are we being given people who have had enough and were part of it? That's the first part of my question. The second part is, there is still talent in the Tory party, like Jenrick and Burghardt. And you think to yourself, look, if Corbyn, I called him Corbyn, that's a slip of the tongue. If Keir Starlin does what I suspect he'll do, which is shore up support, whether it's him or the Labour Party in general, with that mad idiot from the Greens, and as you said, you know, your party, the Fruit and Nut Party, and possibly even the court jester himself, Ed Davey, then surely, this is my question, everybody's saying no, Kemi's saying no, Robert Jenrick's saying no, Nigel Farage is saying no, Richard Tice is saying no, but is it not going to have to look at itself in 3 years if they're polling at 30 and there's... Because we could end up with a left-wing government again unless these people do something about it. That's all I'm saying. We've got 3 years, but it has to be a possibility in some form, I would suspect.
I don't disagree with that. I think there needs to be the possibility that it will happen. And of course, the thing to bear in mind is that things are going to change a lot in the next 3 years. I'm not convinced Kemi Badenoch will be there for the next general election. I don't think Keir Starmer will be there. I hope not anyway. I hope he'll be toppled by someone on the backbenches or someone in his cabinet. So we might have two new leaders of Labour and the Tories. And then, of course, it will be down to Farage to think to himself, can I work with this new Tory leader? Maybe it will be Robert Jenrick. Is the Labour Party going to be refreshed by its new leader? There are all these huge question marks hanging over it. The difference, I think, with 2019, which Farage mentioned in his tweet, when the Tories did actually stab reform in the back, stab Farage in the back, the difference is that this time Farage would have the upper hand.
Yep.
He would be in the more powerful position. He would be the person who would say to the Tories, we're going to do A, B, and C. Are you with us or you're not with us? So that's a big difference. And that might make it a good case for reform working with some party that might help it get into office.
Couldn't agree more. Other big news of the day, honestly, I've got to play you this. I'm going to call him Lammy Dodger from now on. David Lammy's idea of dealing with an 80,000 backlog in Crown Court cases was finally revealed yesterday when he said that half of all jury trials are to be scrapped under plans to tackle the record Crown Court backlogs. Most people, from a sane point of view, would go, hold on a minute. Being judged by a judge is one thing. That's one person. He might be biased, he might have an agenda, but 12 democratically selected across the divide, politically, socially, sexually, morally, of your peers is surely a safety net that we want. Yesterday, Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick slightly laid into Lammy. Listen to this.
Like the prisoners under his watch, he's been a man on the run. The Lammy Dodger of this sorry charade for a government. But now today we are blessed with his presence, and his past is catching up with him, because the best opponent of the Justice Secretary's plans to curb jury trials is the Justice Secretary himself. In 2020, he said, criminal trials without juries are a bad idea. You don't fix the backlog with trials that are widely perceived as unfair. In 2017, in his report into prejudice in the criminal justice system, he found juries, and I quote, act as a filter for prejudice. But now he's become Justice Secretary, he's scrapping the very institution he once lauded. Which is it? Will the real David Lammy please stand up?
Nick, what do you make of this? Nick?
I think...
Hi, Jezza. It's Nick from Mansfield. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. They've got folks saying, oh, we need to vote Conservative. Look at the good things Kemi said. Yeah, thing is, you know exactly what you're going to get if you vote the Conservatives in, exactly what you had last time. Mass immigration, all lies. I mean, when you've interviewed like people like Matt Vickers, or any Tory MP, to be fair, they all still insist, oh, everybody agrees we must get to net zero. No, if you vote them in, it's still 2030, and not a change.
Brendan, so much to think about there. Let's start with Lammy. What do you make of this? It's ludicrous, isn't it?
Yeah, Lammy Dodger, what a great line. Even David Lammy had to laugh at that one. It's perfect. But, you know, let's get serious here, Jeremy. We live under a tyrannical government. We live under a government that locks people up for what they say on the internet. We live under a government that wants to bring in digital IDs that it can keep an eye on everyone all the time and see what we're up to. And we live under a government that wants to deprive us of the ancient liberty of trial by jury. If there was another country overseas doing these things, Starmer and Lammy would be lecturing them and calling them a banana republic and telling them off for breaking the rules of democracy. But all of that is happening right here in Britain in 2025 under a Labour government. They're taking away our speech rights, our jury rights, and our right to go about our lives without having to carry papers. This is a seriously authoritarian government. They call populists authoritarian, but the true authoritarians in this country right now are these managerialists, technocrats, and idiots who are in Downing Street.
Do you think that the fabric, I mean, I sort of see the jury thing as the fabric of a major part of our democracy. I mean, they're telling me that the way to deal with this is to get rid of juries. What about Nightingale hospitals that popped up during COVID, you know, for 4,000 patients and 3 people got treated? Why can't we create Nightingale courts? Why can't we train? Why are we incapable, it seems, Brendan, of doing the things that need to be done properly, efficiently and quickly, whether it's stopping the boats or dealing with overcrowded prisons or dealing with a backlog in the justice system? Why can't we get our heads out of our backsides and get on with it? We pontificate so much that the very basic things that I always thought we were quite good at are being lost, aren't they?
You know, we are constantly being made to suffer for the mistakes of the government.
Yeah.
That's what we're currently living through. So the fact that there is this huge backlog of cases, which is actually a very serious problem, but we are made to pay the price for it by having our fundamental rights taken away, our right to jury trial. They can't control the borders. The government officialdom can't control the borders. We are made to pay for it by being told we have to have digital ID to stop people from working illegally, and by having unknown men, unvetted men from overseas in hotels at the end of our street. We are constantly having to pay a high price for the absolute calamity of officialdom that we have right now. That's the real scandal with the jury trial thing as well. Yes, there's a massive backlog, but it can't be fixed by taking away the fundamental rights that have defined this nation for more than 800 years.
Do you have hope still? Because if you sit where I sit every morning, it is genuinely quite depressing, because you end up thinking, how and when can any of this get better? Do you believe it can get better?
I do think it can get better, not under Labour, that's for sure. They've got to go. That's the starting point. But there are two discussions going on right now, Jeremy, and you have these discussions all the time. The first is the absolute uselessness of this government we're all living under. And the second is what's going to happen at the next general election. Yeah. I hear people talking about that all the time. As you say, it's on the front page of the papers today. Will Farage cut a deal? Will he not cut a deal? So there are two things going on. We're all thinking, God, I can't believe how rubbish this government is. Yeah. And we're also thinking, what's going to happen in the next general election? Will things be turned around? I think there's some signs of optimism there.
I think if Farage gets in, he needs to... I don't think you'll do this in 5 years. I think you need 10 years, whether there's some sort of merger down the line. But for me, it's just the very basics of what's right and what's wrong. Women's safety, just dealing with people's everyday issues like increasing food prices and energy prices. I mean, you see this thing about if you drive a car or a van, a hybrid, which you're all told to buy, you'll have to pay an extra £1.50 a mile as well as regular fuel duty. I mean, I thought we were all told that was good for the environment. I mean, it's almost as if you get to a point, I think, where you wonder what is said to you in any way has a semblance of truth to it.
Well, this is the other issue that I sometimes can't even bring myself to think about, never mind talk about, which is the economy. They're driving the economy off a cliff edge. There's this new study which says that British growth is going to get even worse as a consequence of the budget, as a consequence of the tax hikes. They don't know what they're doing. They can't grow the economy. They can't keep women safe. They can't police our borders, and they can't guarantee that we will have the freedom to speak and the right to trial by jury. They can't do anything. This really is the worst government I can remember.
It's always great to have you on, my friend. You know, I love having you on. We appreciate your time. Brendan O'Neill, Chief Political Writer at Spike. To the ad break.